All right, fellas, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and for the time being, we are dedicated to Shokuho, this amazing new Japanese overhaul mod. It sets us into the 15th, 16th century of feudal Japan. Now, we're going to do some siege defense today. We'll try to do one town and one castle for you with tier 3 through 6 units. That way, each side has roughly the same strength army. You can see we outnumber them, or excuse me, the defenders are outnumbered here about 2 to 1, and we've given them an ozutsu and a cannon or something like that. We'll talk a little bit about siege weapons, although this is only my second foray into siege. My initial experiment didn't go too well. We gave our army equal number of troops, equal number of archers and infantry, and it did not go well. So we'll see. It's a really interesting, well, all of the maps are interesting because of course they are new, and I just realized I'm not in charge here, or more accurately, the sergeant is not in charge here, so let me fix this, and we will try this again here. So the first run, sergeant in charge, and frankly, you guys are going to be exploring this with me in the beginning of this battle here. You have this incredible fort, Japanese city fort on top of this hill with all these spikes and this big long back and forth switchback to get to the top of the mountain up here. There's all kinds of gunners and archers on top. And observe, we are using the battle size mod, right? So 1,500 units on the screen. Every unit in this siege is present at the beginning of this battle. Now we'll try to speed this up a little bit, but I'll try to show you interesting points as well. Now this is the city itself down here. I've actually wandered around this little city a little bit in my playthrough, but this is my first siege attempt. Now the AI is manning the walls, right? Just like vanilla Bannerlord, it's putting guys up here, and they are just point blank firing into the enemy ranks as they approach. A ram is coming up, and I presume siege towers, or it looks like they have ladders, so they're getting ladders up. And there's obviously a whole lot of attackers here that are starting to stream up the ladders. I don't think this is going to go particularly well. Like I said, the first run, they got routed pretty bad. We gave them some more archers here to see, archers and gunners here to see if that's the difference. But I don't suspect they can win still. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. Now, the enemy archers, I've noticed this. They don't do shit. They just kind of sit back here. The gunners fire an occasional shot, but the AI is definitely not using its archers optimally. Now this is one of the little cannons, and you can see he's like picking up an imaginary cannonball and loading it. You know, the modders are doing the best they can probably with the system engine to recreate that. So those guys are firing rounds up there. The enemy infantry is swarming through the city here, cutting down everything in its path. Looks like the ram has done its job, and now they're starting to maul everybody in the city here. There's like guys getting pushed up on wagons and shit like that as they storm through. Now this is what awaits them, right? This nasty switchback with all kinds of archers. And my job as a commander, your job as a commander, is look for ways to improve this, right? Otherwise, you just have fun, you swing your sword. Like this guy here with the fucking hand cannon is not optimally placed. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. He's like falling down the back of the hill there. A lot of these guys here with these giant hand cannons that look like something out of Pulp Fiction, they are not, you know, they're not being utilized particularly well. So we'll see if we can't use those guys a little bit better. Now the enemy here is in a sad state, right? They've got to go through all these terraced switchbacks, getting mowed down and shot upon the entire time. But they do have a huge Walmart horde of people, right? These are a lot of troops, whatever kind of big box stores they have in Japan, right? This is a lot of infantry pouring up the hill here, and our archers are pecking away, but it seems like eventually those infantrymen are going to eat. Look at these guys here just shooting through the walls of the fort. It's a pretty killer mod. You know, you have to give a lot of credit where it's due. This mod is, it's not perfect, but it's extraordinarily well done. All right, so infantry's still coming, but these archers are not, you know, for all the things they've done well. These archers need to be up there supporting. I don't know, maybe they can't shoot that far, but they should not be standing way back, just completely missing the battle. You'd think they'd be helping here. And it'll be interesting. Of course, this is defensive siege. I'm probably going to have to do about 10 episodes of Shokuho, different tactics, offensive siege, different cities. And I say 10 episodes, that's going to cover the surface, right? This is a wholly new game from Bannerlord. The game mechanics are similar, but siege is totally different. And the tactics, of course, are also going to be different. Now, these two forts oppose each other, and this is a brilliant layout here, either by the developers or maybe they followed history. The enemy has to choose which side they attack. You know, they can split, but then, of course, their forces are reduced. Meanwhile, these guys with the hand cannons here are just plowing them, shooting them in the back if they go the other way. Pretty nasty. And the enemy, now they're bottled up, being shot in the back, and it looks like they're routing. I would rout if I'm getting shot in the back. You can't move because there's people fighting in front of you. You know, it's a pretty nasty setup. And I'll remind you, this is all just the AI. The AI is doing its thing. There is a dark side to that I've already discovered. Like I said, I've done a couple of these. We're kind of, these are the my very first little glimpses of Siege. And one thing that's apparent is that the AI programming is so substantial with all the guys on these little towers and stuff like that, that you don't get much control as a defender. Of course, fans of the channel know that is how we have extraordinary success in Siege, is with complete micromanagement. In a Siege, I control every single unit on the screen. I can tell them to go sit in a corner in a square, or spread out over here, or stand on these ramparts. And with Shokuho, that is definitely not the case, right? You don't have control, and I will illustrate that fact. Now, I'm trying to speed this up. We're on 3x speed here. I recognize some guys are probably a little bored. Of course, this is your first time seeing it. The gunners have moved up now. The archers and gunners have moved up to support the infantry, but it's kind of too little too late. The siege defenders are hanging on, although it's razor close. Now, a lot of people who play Bannerlord and Shokuho, that games like this, they don't want to micromanage, right? So in some ways, Shokuho is designed for the masses, right? Guys on the channel will probably be disappointed. I'm a little disappointed. In fact, I've tried to ask the developers if there's any way to turn off all this AI control, or at least reduce it, right? We should have some ability to control large swaths of our men. After all, we're the commander, right? I'm not, and I'll show you, even when you're the commander, these guys still do their own thing, and there's nothing you can do about it at all. I will still try to overcome the enemy. Here it looks really close, but, you know, in order to both save you time and to have a baseline, we're going to just go ahead and say that the enemy won this round here, right? Instead of playing it out to the very last troop, you guys can pretty much observe 60 versus 15. They're going through the process of cutting all the guys out here. Just going to change the music real quick. You guys won't even notice this part. And the enemy gets cut down, and that's pretty much that right there. They're down to a few troops here, and again, with your guys' permission, we will call that settled, right? So this same configuration, let's see if we can't win, right? The AI failed here to defend. What's amazing is we're barely outnumbered 2-1. In vanilla Bannerlord, you would win with this setup. And what I mean is, if you gave yourself 489 tier 3 troops, tier 3 through 6 troops, your guys with the AI would be able to successfully defend against 1,000 troops. When we do these custom siege battles routinely, when I do 500 against 1,000, the defenders win. Now, maybe we're not quite optimized here, but that was the AI, right? The AI wasn't able to win. So we'll see if we can win. Now, what we're doing here, of course, I'm just going to take advantage of the fact that there's incredible line of sight on this enemy vanguard. They have to come through that funnel, and so we're going to put a ton of elite divisions of archers up on that hill. But look what's going on here. Let me give you the overhead view of this. These guys I told to position down here. You can see they're part of the 7th and 8th Division. Look at them just walking off like disobedient fucks. The Japanese were known for their war discipline. Not these guys, right? These guys are going to go wherever they want, and of course I jest. What's going on here is the AI is like, nah, you're stupid. Put these archers here, even though I think where they're positioned right here is better. And look at the death spam, right? As these guys fire into the packed enemy ranks at a long distance, right? As a commander, I would prefer to have, 100 guys right there on the hill. They are getting hit by counterfire, right? The enemy's shooting at them. But I want all of these guys shooting. I don't want guys falling down the back of the hill with their hand cannon. I want them firing into this packed mass of troops that are coming through the gate. I don't believe there is friendly fire in Shokuho, just like vanilla Bannerlord. It would be a nightmare to deal with friendly fire, right? You as the player, these units are robots. They would just fire into the back of their own troops, so it'd be difficult to program. and difficult, of course, to deal with as a commander. Now, we've got some more tricks here I'm going to try. Right, we're going to try a defensive flank with an attacking savage division of elite troops. I'm going to help a little bit here, just getting kind of a feel still for the melee combat in this game. It's quite difficult, right? The enemy forces, that guy wasn't too difficult. The enemy forces attack vigorously. They fight. The AI fights pretty well, right? They defend, they will parry, they will get their spear out, although so far this guy is just making short work of everybody that comes his way. Here's a guy. So this guy's got a really fast sword, and he was able to get a swing in on me. All right, so 4th Division, I'm basically going to tuck against the wall, and the idea is the enemy has to turn their back to attack these guys, right? They basically have to face them. Now, they don't have shields, but it means that our archers, those gunners on the hill there, will have great line of sight. Meanwhile, I have my attack dog division here. This guy's got a huge weapon, wailing away at me. Meanwhile, our gunners there, or excuse me, our attack dog division can now move in and hopefully sort of pinch the enemy. Meanwhile, they're still being shot through that little opening, directly behind me here. So these guys are outnumbered. We've got a nice tactical advantage here. This division is playing defense, and the guys are shooting them in the back. And the death span looks pretty good, right? I don't know if it's going to be better than that first go attempt, right, with the sergeant, but so far it looks pretty good, right? Now, I don't know if you see it, but there's all kinds of archers streaming off the hill. I think those archers are trying to get on the wall still, which is really bad AI. No offense to the fellows who made this mod, but there's no way they should be still trying to man those walls when the enemy has completely overrun the city. Look at those archers running through there. They're not going up there to fight. They're going, I think, to man the walls, and they're basically suicidal because, of course, they have zero chance of making it to the walls. So we're going to continue to hold the lines here. It's starting to break down a little bit. It's rather chaotic because I think those are our archers rushing through the middle. Of course, we're attacking with these 2 divisions. However, I observed the power bar, and we're not going to be hiding the power bar for these episodes, much like we're doing for the campaign. We don't need to do that. Here is no suspense needed. This is strictly a learning video. I'm learning. You guys are learning. And of course, right, please put your comments things that I'm missing. I'm sure I'm missing a lot, right? This is brand new. I'm a highly experienced Bannerlord player. I am not a highly experienced Shokuho player, right? I just got popped in the face by somebody. Now I got a spear. But I observe the power bar favors us, right? I do think we're doing better than the AI did that first round. The AI got killed, right? That's all there is to it. They lost. The enemy had 60, 70 troops. Here, I think we're winning, although it's still, it's still kind of touch and go. I do like the position those archers have, right? Not only were they shooting the enemy all the way in, but they're still shooting them, right? Even as the enemy approaches here. Hey, I got a gunner. Let me use this shit. Come get some, bitches. Just smoked him in the face. He's got a sword, too. The firearms, of course, are new to me. There's an extraordinarily long loading time. It's like 20 seconds, which is realistic, right? Think of The Last Samurai where that guy's like, load! He's trying to make them load and shoot under pressure and shit like that. You're going to feel that when you play this because as you're loading, there are going to be guys trying to cut you down and shit. In fact, this guy's cut off. He's a dead man. But, let's see here. We got an archer. Those archers, those guys I put there are still shooting, right? They're still part of that death march for the enemy, and I think that's going to be a net positive thing for you to do. Now, unfortunately, like I said, I wish I could have put 100 guys there, 120 guys there. I think this siege would be over already. These guys would have all been shot to death. You can see they're actually still streaming away. You see these guys running off? They're going to try to man positions on the wall, which is really bad. Now, to be fair, the Shokuho developers have basically said, look, and they haven't said this, but this game is very much in late beta, we'll call it, right? They're still making adjustments. There are people that are discovering crashes and stuff like that. This is a very ambitious mod, and there's going to be some hitches in their giddy up, right? It's not a perfect game, right? There isn't any. As far as overhaul mods go, and I've said it before, I think this is one of the very best. However, I observe, again, the power bar. This battle's over. So a battle where the AI lost, we make a couple of adjustments, despite the fact that it's still kind of buggy. It's not operating perfectly. We win, right? This battle is over. I can run up here and join my mates, shoot them in the back here, and the enemy is fleeing. So success, right? There's probably only 100 survivors left here, but that beats the shit out of losing, right? Not a bad result at all. Give me a second here and we'll load up a castle siege. A couple different settings will change, and we'll give you guys another glimpse and see if we can't make some improvements. It's recording here. We've changed some of the sides here. Relatively similar setup though, and let's just pick a random castle here. And we'll do a little harder challenge just to see if castles are easier to defend or not. I have not noticed a difference in the town tier levels, so the scene levels doesn't seem to change much, although I will continue to test. Understand, fellas, this is my very first early on attempt here to defend a castle. No idea what I'm doing. But we'll try to apply some tactics here. Again, just a brief glimpse overview of the troops. We're outnumbered 2.5 to 1. And again, we will let the sergeant go this first run. Observe the castle a little bit. You know, for these first runs here, I'm going to need this time just to observe the castle, the conditions. This is obviously first time for everything. We do plan on streaming, and I say we, the royal we, on our channel here. We're going to do some streaming of Shokuho. We'll probably do some castle defenses and open field tactics, not a campaign. I want to skip straight through the foreplay, and we will get to the sex of the game, right? The battle, the carnage, the combat. And we are going to continue with our Patreon channel to have our playthrough, right? If you want to see all the minute details, we will cover that there. All right, and these guys up here in the tower are firing away. It's a very small castle, which I guess is relatively normal to Bannerlord, right? The amount of space to play on here is a lot more condensed. I think that's a disadvantage for the defenders here, obviously. I mean, if the enemy, and these guys are literally standing here, I'm observing some not so terrific, look at this guy, he's got 6 arrows in the chest, not so terrific AI positioning here. Can't believe that guy's still alive. We're not going to do that, right? We're not going to leave our infantry there just to die. The infantry you do have a lot more control of. It's the archers that the AI wants to control, right? It grabs your archers and says, no, put them here. And again, if the developers somehow are listening, all I would say is have an option or some ability in the settings to either reduce or negate that completely. For experienced players like myself who want to micromanage, we should enjoy that option. Maybe some modder will do that if the developers don't. You know, we shall see, though. AI is one of the hardest things to program. So they're still suiciding their infantry. These guys are doing nothing. They don't have a throwing weapon or a bow or anything. And I think that's why they were standing there, because here come the ladders, right? The enemy's rushing up. They're going to start coming over the walls here with the ladders. There's buildings on fire and shit exploding. And not so good so far, right? The kill ratio is barely 1.5 to 1. That's not going to suffice, right? We're outnumbered 2.5 to 1 here. As the enemy pours up the ladders, and very soon the main gate. Now there's all of a sudden a huge flush of green, right? I don't know what that's coming from. It might be that the archers got just perfect line of sight. Understand too that our siege tactics will get more refined, just like our channel, right? If you watch a siege episode from a year ago and then you watch one from yesterday, there's dramatic improvements, right? This is just life. We're going to learn more and more and apply one step each time. I mean, that's human civilization in a nutshell. They didn't discover the atomic bomb out of nowhere. It was one guy coming up with a hypothesis, and then some other guy added to it, and 26 other guys generationally added some shit, and the next thing you know, we're killing everybody with one bomb. Now, it looks like it's a pretty significant route here by the AI. And I see a few things that I want to do right away, right? We're going to protect our infantry as the enemy comes up to the gate here. They've got to now pound their way through the gate. We're going to try to have some counter-flanking with archers. There's not nearly the good position here in this castle for your archers as there was on that hillside. I don't have... Up here is pretty good, right? These guys have a little bit of protection. But this looks again fairly limited for tactics. I think we'll try a flanking squeeze of assault troops at the gate. That should be effective. And then we can also try basically counter forces in a square with archers. Again, exact same settings here, and let's see if we can't improve. The AI had, what, 200 and something troops there survive. Let's see if we can't do better than that. Pretty confident we can. Let's see, we'll make 2 divisions here of archers. I've got a 6th division of infantry, and what I want to have essentially is 2 or maybe even 3 defensive divisions and then an attack division, right? We're going to try to sandwich the enemy at the gate, and I want to keep these infantrymen out of sight to start, right? And there's not very many options, right? These forts, for whatever reason, they don't have solid objects here, right? There's no, like, lots of wood and stuff like that where you could just hide behind. And you would think if people were shooting guns at you, you would have solid lines of wood. Instead, it's all set up like they like a good breeze here. 3, 4, 5. And of course, ostensibly, that's so the enemy could shoot out. But you would like at least some shelter for your troops here, and there isn't much. So 1st, 4th, 6th. Let's see what I got. 3rd. I'm putting them back here because these guys have a little bit of cover behind that bunker. It really is, I feel very naked here to the enemy troops. And of course, they're shooting firearms, so it's doing major damage at range. We'll see how many of those guys in the 7th stay there. Down here, we can drag this archer division, the 8th. They're going to be our crossfire division on the gate. Or at least that's my hope, right? These may not go well. Of course, if you're watching it on YouTube, more than likely it did. Position the 2nd. I don't really want any infantry out in front except this division at the gate. And I don't really know where to put them, right? They have to rush up and defend that gate. But I think what I'll do is just put them off to the side here, kind of spread. At least that way they're not eating every single round. I mean, you put those guys in a square at the gate before the enemy gets up here, and they're all going to get melted. I think that's about as much as we could do here. Let's see what we can do. Now, there is a little bit of cover behind these little archer bins or whatever you want to call them. They look like nice little terraced places. I mean, I would love to eat some sushi right here and just watch the battle. It looks like beautiful visuals. That guy got hit by a cannon or something like that. And let's just observe, right? I got my sword. I've got no bow and arrow. So early on here, we can just observe these guys run into these little archer things and start loading up. Our infantry is getting killed, but I suspect it's at a lower rate than the AI, right? They were condensed in a thick line, and this is only 1 division instead of having, 200 infantrymen just getting smoked. It looks pretty good so far, right? That's a 6-7 to 1 kill ratio so far. I like what I see. This is going to be the harder problem, right? The enemy's rushing up infantry here. They come up to the ladders. They're going to be smashing through the gate. Now, the gate initially was open, and if you put infantry there, you're going to get smoked. Now it's closed, and they would have a little bit of protection simply because the gate is closed. I think. I don't know if you could probably shoot through the gate if it's damaged. But in this case, you might do okay to have infantry there. So a little crossfire division of archers here. We'll see if we can't move this whole 2nd division off to our left, an infantry square to the right. That way the enemy comes in. Hopefully they're attracted to that square. If they're not, we'll shove that square in the gate to limit how many enemy troops can come in. And I still have these other divisions here. We're going to have some dynamic tactics, and I will probably fight just a little bit in this battle as well. When you don't, when you just use the F10 overhead mod, it depends on what your settings are with the RTS mod. They'll either fight or they will stand there, right? And obviously, you as a player are going to be able to enjoy combat in Shokuho. My initial gut feeling is that they have designed Shokuho more for players and less for commanders. And I don't mean that in a negative denigration way. I mean that as that's what a lot of guys who play Bannerlord and these type of games want, right? They just want to have a good time. They don't want the stress of micromanaging a bunch of units. That's part of the reason a lot of people still use F1, F3, right? They just want something easy. It's already overwhelming for some people. And here, of course, they can have a nice, easy challenge. So the enemy's coming in, and I am going to try to pinch them here, right? I've got 1 attacking division set up, and I've got basically a double buttressed square, right? What I did is I added a square over there. So there's a bunch of guys there towards our right, and then a bunch of guys here are going to attack on the left, right? And these guys are now pinching the enemy where the enemy's outnumbered. Our archers aren't doing much here. They'll get their chance, but our infantry is. The death spam is just fizzing green as our troops outnumber the enemy and flank and encircle anybody that comes through the gate. I want to keep that square largely over there, but I'm going to charge intermediately. And what I mean by that is I'm going to charge and then reset them, because I have this other division that I'm going to bring in for defense, right? You can actually put it right in front of the gate. And the concept of that is actually really effective. What you're doing is basically limiting how many enemies can get into the courtyard. And then with the guys that you have in the courtyard, you now outnumber the enemy, right? It's a really effective way, and it works really well in Bannerlord too. If you let 150 guys in through the main gate and you have 300, and then you shove a square into the gate, those 150 that came in are fucking dead men, even if you have infantry only. Alright, so tons of these Horo, I think I'm pronouncing it right, these airbag shields are on the back here, and I'm not sure if they help with melee weapons. But so far so good, right? The death spam looks really good. The AI got obliterated here, or at least had a substantial loss, and we're winning. Our troops are actually charging the archers outside, which I'm okay with for now, right? Because if you don't have archers and they do charge, right? You want to stand there and just eat arrows, might as well charge, right? So let's get these guys on them. We can spread out some archers over here to support them on the right. But I'm feeling good, right? In fact, I'm not just feeling good. I will bet you guys, 12,000 yen that we win this battle. This fucking battle is over. Our infantry is steamrolling the center there. We've got archer support. And I think we significantly outnumber the enemy. Shit's on fire over here. These are the braziers, and indeed, the enemy's fleeing. So there you have it, fellas. Just a couple things you guys can do to improve your gameplay in Shokuho. All right, let's actually try one more castle siege here. I've got just a few more minutes today before I've got to run. We will try Castle Map C. I have no idea, again, what any of this means. And we will try Tokai. This kingdom is the one I'm currently playing in my playthrough that we're showing on Patreon. And I want to know a little bit more about their defensive and offensive capabilities here. Like we've done in the first examples, we're going to go ahead and let the sergeant play this out. And man, you just got to, these castle defense layouts are amazing, right? There's just all kinds of angles and towers over here. Whoever designed this, the fellas that worked on this mod, these guys must have studied actual castles, or at least must have an understanding of military tactics and strategy, because these are brilliantly designed with multiple bifurcated towers like this. The enemy is given all these different forks in the road, and anytime you can confuse the enemy in situations like this, of course it favors the defenders. It's basically multiple individual pockets of each fort that are defendable, right? You could put a square at the entrance to each one of these, right? And basically protect those archer towers. And maybe those are the kind of sophisticated things we will eventually do. This first run through, I'm noticing a few things we can obviously do here. There's some beautiful line of sight up here. I want to put like an archer division. We're not going to mess, I think, with this square. The inner courtyard seems to be a really good defending mechanism if you let the AI do its thing. So whatever division that is there, I'll probably leave that alone unless it is to charge. But the line of sight here on the front gate just begs for a pillar defense. We could put infantry squares on both sides, or an attacking division on one side and a square on the other. And then, of course, plenty of our archers and gunners with good line of sight. Again, just to set a baseline here so we can see if we're actually improving, right? If you can't beat what the AI is doing, why would you fuck with it, right? It's like trying to put on some kind of fancy patch to your graphics card that makes the frames per second slower, right? Obviously, if you're not going to make improvements, why bother? So trying to speed this along here again for you guys. There's a huge courtyard scrum, but I want to try to defend this lower area, right? If we can stall the enemy a little bit, if we can cause them to fight a lot here under the line of sight of those top two defending towers of the inner sanctum, I think that's more likely to succeed. Now the enemy's pouring in all their gunners here. Their infantry has made short work of our defenders. And let's go ahead and we'll say they had 300, right? Without making you watch that whole thing. We'll say the attackers had 300 survivors there. That's probably a rough estimate. They were down to 70, and I just didn't want to waste another 30 or 40 seconds of your time. So I'm going to try three different archer divisions, but again, these are so uncertain, right? When you put these out, you can just expect the AI to steal from them, right? It's basically AI is going to steal from your divisions, your archer divisions, because it wants to pre-position them. Now the second division is out here in a big glob. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe that's the setting, or maybe they start there and then they run to their pre-programmed positions. So 6th division in a square. I want to get an archer division opposing them here so that we can get, traditional tactics that work in Bannerlord applied here. A bunch of archers facing the opposite direction. No, 7th division. Facing the opposite direction, should be able to flank, enfilade fire the shit out of those infantrymen coming through the gate. And then we're going to have an attack division as well in case it just floods, right? If the enemy floods into the courtyard, you want to have an ability to patch that door with the square and then attack it with another division. Now, there are parts of this that you can't use. You see it's saying you can't use that, and that's kind of unfortunate because it's right in front of us. I'm not quite certain. Maybe the game, and really I can't use that either. So unfortunately there's some areas I wanted to use here that you just can't even use. So that's going to have to suffice. You know, we're going to get used to siege just like in Bannerlord. There's a lot of parts of cities where you would love to use them and you get the red no smoking, no standing here sign, much to your chagrin. Still, I think this has a good chance of exceeding what the AI did. And again, if it doesn't, you're probably not going to watch it, right? It's not going to be on YouTube. I'm not going to waste your guys' time. So we've got about an hour now experience with castle sieges and cities. That makes us an expert? No, of course. We're going to get better and better with these, but for the guys who just started playing Shokuho and you want to get better, hopefully we can provide you with that, right? The whole purpose of my channel is to help you fellas with tactics, so we're going to try to do so today. And see if we can't steal some from the 2nd Division here and add to the others. Those guys are positioned pretty beautifully up that hill, so we'll see how this goes. The 2nd Division is in the way here, and I'm not sure why the AI put those guys so close. It's rapidly stealing from our 7th Division already, which is unfortunate because that was one of my primary hopes for success. But I'm also going to act as a bit of a vanguard myself. That square is doing a beautiful job. It's attracting attention. And I see the arrows flying in behind me here, right? So the archers behind me are at least doing a decent job. Try to pinch the enemy in here a little bit more. Squares where, you know, the enemy could trickle through is optimal. And my guy's over here beheading guys. Oh, he got no head. Oh, maybe that's what that means in Japanese. You don't have a head. Oh. And maybe I just sound like a racist white dude. And we're going to try to fatten that 7th Division up here as we cut down guys coming through. Now, I've got that other division, that attack dog division. So as they start to leak through, they're in my mind, right? That 1st Division, come over here, boys. I've got some things for you to cut on, charge. We outnumber the enemy here. This should be a positive exchange. The 7th Division really has broken down from what I wanted it to be to just kind of a conglomerate of 6 or 7 guys there looking stupid. But we're learning, right? I'm learning with you guys. And the bottom line is you can't reliably position archers where you want. Maybe that'll change, but as of the making of this, you know, late June 2025, the AI is going to do what the AI is going to do, right? It's basically very strongly anti-micromanagement. So 1st Division's charging. The square is holding them back. Let's try one of these big, long polearm fucking things here. This should be able to kill guys at range. And, oh shit, he must have a poor skill at swinging it because it's unbelievably slow. So back to the sword. Let's square the 1st Division here. The division at the gate is starting to break down, but it is slowing the enemy to a trickle here, as we've got a giant mess of archers and enemy forces. I think a common complaint people have is the colors are too identical. Very difficult to tell who the enemy is unless you have that bright orb above their head turned way up, right? These guys basically look like my own troops. And yet, you know, as soon as you think that, they will cut you down. Of course, the flags give it away a little bit, right? Sometimes you get a blue flag and a white flag, but not every guy has a flag, and I don't think you want them to. So it's not going terrifically. I would not say this is a stellar tactic, but we'll see if we can't at least win this siege. The AI lost this siege, and I feel like we have a chance to win it because we've really stalled them here in the approach to the citadel. They're not going to be able to pound on the door. We still have a bunch of archers and infantry that are positioned up that hill. So they... Oh shit, you know what? This is like a dead zone. The AI cannot get to me, I think. Look at him standing there. That division is gone. I don't have much to do here, but look at this. This is... I don't know if they have any way to fix this, but the AI, if I had arrows, I could just shoot these guys to death. Of course, that would be incredible cheese, so we're not going to do that here. We'll just get killed like a man. But very interesting that there are parts of the map that you physically can go and the enemy cannot. I seriously doubt that is a long-term intention of these modders. All right, I got a spear dude here with no sword, so I feel rather inept. 14 damage, 19 damage, but we've got enough archers here that continue to stall the enemy, and I can't see them because I'm going to stay in the first person, but I'm pretty sure those guys up in the tower and in the citadel are working on the enemy here, right? It's ugly, but ultimately what we're doing here is stalling the enemy, giving that 120 guys up there a chance to gun them down as they come in, right? It's basically we're trying to dilute the enemy forces here. Let me find a sword so I'm not totally inept, and we'll try to make our last stand here. Here come their gunners and other reserves. Let's cut these guys down. There's a bunch of them still. These archers off to the flank. The enemy's going right by them and attacking the gate. So this is not a bad spot for archers, right? The AI basically has to attack them or charge the gate. I like that setup. And the power bar's close. I think we can win this battle. And what happened the first battle? The AI had, we're just going to say, had 300-ish survivors, and they succeeded in destroying us. Now, we're outnumbered 3-1 here, and that is because I think this kingdom has some of the best troops in the game. This Tokai, hopefully I'm not mispronouncing it, but they have a lot of tier 5 and 6. In fact, in my playthrough, I've noticed that their noble line starts at tier 5 and just straight upgrades to tier 6, right? They have... and they have all of them. They have a tier 6 horse archer, a tier 6 cavalry, a tier 6 infantry, and a tier 6 whatever I missed, right? They have tier 6 of all 4 troop types, which is probably unique or at least rare in Shokuho. It certainly doesn't even exist in Bannerlord. You get 1 or 2. Actually, you only get 1, right? Every kingdom has 1. I mean, unless you count dismounted Consguards, a second type of 6. All right, well, we're going to speed through the end of this here, but no matter what, we've been more successful than the AI, right? The AI got, I'm not going to say blown out, but they had 300 attackers still, and the AI lost this castle siege. Here, it looks like we're going to win. The AI is very close on the power bar. We've got a defensive position. I won't be surprised if they rout. Oops. And so at least, at least one of these, we've been able to show fairly significant improvement. Although, the last 2 weren't bad as well. The first example was probably the best, right? That castle where the AI got routed, and then we did some tactics, some sandwich tactics, some archer crossfire, and smashed them pretty good. All right, fellas, this is just an introductory episode here to Shokuho Siege. This is an amazing game. I mean, again, you need a high-end PC to play it with all these incredibly detailed textures. They've kind of outdone themselves here. It's beautiful. It's a dramatic improvement in a lot of ways on Bannerlord. There's all kinds of new features. And hopefully, our channel here can both help you guys get better at Shokuho and showcase this mod in all its glory, because it really is worth playing. All right, fellas, you want to subscribe at this stage? I'm going to take a little screenshot for the thumbnail for this video. If you want to see more, like I said, you want to subscribe, please hit that like button on the way out. Leave any comments, criticism, or even requests, right? You want to see me defend a certain location, let me know. And with all that said, friends, I will see you next time.